Game 155 of 162 for the Yankees goes down out in Oakland tonight. It's game 2 of the Yankees A series. So let's talk with our New York Post Yankees beat writer Greg Joyce about what the Yankees need to do to finish the regular season off strong with only 8 games to go. Greg, before we even talk about, game 2 of this series, Garett Cole, Carlos Rodon, this weekend marks the final time the Yankees will visit the Oakland Coliseum. As everyone knows, the A's are going to be moving to Sacramento before heading out to Vegas whenever they get out there. So what's the vibes been like out there? Has any of the players or any of the coaches said anything about playing in that stadium for the last time Saturday and on Sunday?
Yeah, it's definitely a little strange. I think it's almost feels like the last day of school around here, but also it's tough. A lot of these people who work here, their final weekend, with the A's team in town. Aaron Boone talked about it yesterday, just the nostalgia of being here. He used to come here when his dad was playing for the Angels in the early '80s. He talked about getting to sit on the bench a couple times, and he obviously came here as a player. His Yankees debut was here in 2003. And obviously came as a manager and broadcaster too before that. But I think there's a certain level of it's not one of the buildings that you think of as having charm. There's a lot of old, there's a handful of old stadiums around the league right now, but just among them, but it doesn't necessarily have the charm. But I think it's a little strange when it's going to be your last time playing here. Obviously as a franchise, the Yankees' biggest, most memorable experience here with maybe Derek Jeter's flip play in 2001 in the playoffs. So, it's just kind of a unique experience of coming to a building the last time playing here. There's a couple of players and coaches earlier today that were headed up to Mount Davis, which is the top of the bleachers in center field that fans used to be able to sit at. They haven't recently. It's been taped over or tarped over. But, just kind of a unique experience here, just knowing, sounds like Sacramento next year if they can finalize that, and then Vegas after that. So it's definitely a unique experience. The A's have one more series here after this, but I would expect it to be some pretty good crowds here this weekend.
If you want to smuggle me a seat back, when you head back, then, you can do that if you want to. I don't want you to get in trouble, but that's history right there.
See if I can fit on the plane.
You've been out west for quite some time, man. Any news or updates from the team out from the West Coast? Like, how big is tonight's and Sunday's game in terms of clinching the division?
Yes, I think the big thing is seeing if Wotto gets back in the lineup today. Obviously, he got scratched from it yesterday with the left knee soreness from banging into the wall in Seattle on Thursday, but then made enough improvement during the day, getting treatment, kind of testing it out to be able to pinch it in the 10th inning, and of course delivered an RBI double to help the Yankees win that game Friday night in 10 innings. So, he always has the flair for the dramatic and came through again on Friday. But he said whether he'd be back in the lineup on Saturday just kind of depended on whether, how he woke up to see if he could continue getting some of that swelling down. He said when he woke up on Friday, the knee was still pretty swollen, and they worked on it throughout the day to be able to get him in a position to come in the 10th inning. But that's the biggest thing right now, just making sure that he's right. Obviously, it's a little over a week left in the regular season. They still got to try to wrap up the division. Their magic number is 5 to do so, but obviously you want to make sure that Wotto is healthy going into the playoffs. So if that means being out of the lineup for a couple days just to make sure that knee is right, that takes priority just to make sure that he's right going into October.
Yeah, when you're getting ready for a run, you always want your best players healthy and trending in the right direction. And another guy who had himself a night Friday night and is trending in the right direction, Garett Cole. He retired his first 9 batters, but he pitched into the 9th inning for the first time this season. How big is it for Cole to get back on track and, I guess, just pitch like himself going into October?
Yeah, that was big. That seemed like vintage Garett Cole. Obviously not he wasn't facing murderers row out here, but just for him to be able to, he hadn't pitched into the 7th inning this season before last night. And then, finishes the 7th, finishes the 8th, finishes the 9th. He was at 99 pitches. He said he kind of tried to make his case to go into the 10th, but Aaron Boone shut it down pretty quickly. But it's a good sign that he was at least feeling like he had the stamina. He had enough in the tank to go beyond that. He's talked about how it's important for him to kind of get these reps late in games or, pushing up his pitch count before he gets into October. Obviously, it's not been anywhere close to the season that he's really accustomed to. Missing all that time and then just kind of having some ups and downs when he did come back. You could say he'll be fresher for the playoffs. He said last night he'd much rather have 212 innings under his belt at this point with the full grind of the season, just because that's what he's used to. But yeah, I mean, if the Yankees are going to go where they want to go this October, it's going to have to be with, Garett Cole's got to pitch like Garett Cole. And last night was as close to that as we've seen all year. So it's an encouraging step for the Yankees.
Carlos Rodon is on the mound tonight, and I know it's only the A's, but how important is it for him to have a strong outing heading into the final week and a half of the regular season?
Yeah, it's a big one as well. Obviously, he's pitched better of late, but again, it's all about, at this point, first and foremost, wrapping up the division, but beyond that, it's just kind of getting guys in good spots heading into October. The Yankees still have to decide what their rotation is going to look like for the playoffs. You figure, it's going to start with Cole, and then is Game 2 Rodon? Is it Luis Gil? That's kind of what they're taking this next week plus to kind of figure out. Obviously, it depends on the opponent, but also just kind of how guys are pitching, heading into that. So it's important for him to kind of go in on a high note. He started off the year so well, had some bumps on, mid-season, but seems to be better, kind of rounding into form here. He has a little bit of playoff experience, but not a ton. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how he handles all that. But it's important for him to kind of go into October with some momentum behind him.
All right, we got Yankees A's going down at 9:07 p.m. tonight. Greg, thanks for hopping on with this, man. And if you have to check a bag to get that seat back, I'll pay for it, bro. I'll pay for it.
All right, you got it, Brandon.